What's up, Bulls fans, and welcome back to another episode of It's Brewin at McEwen. I'm your host this evening, Adam Cartwright, and with me is Mark and Matt Giardino. Let me send it around the horn real quick and get us warmed up. Mark, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be talking some USF baseball here on a Thursday night. Little different night, but I think it might be part of our new routine going forwards. But big series, not big, but a series. Every series is a big series because of every game ends up impacting your RPI, and that's huge. So big series with Columbia this weekend, 4 games actually. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Listen, 4-0 weeks are nothing to tip your nose at. We're going to
hmm
take those all day, every day. Matt, how you doing, bud?
Doing great. Almost game day again. Always a good day when the next day you get to watch Bulls baseball again. So looking forward to another good series this weekend.
Absolutely. Going to be a jam-packed weekend at the Red as there's going to be 4 games. Again, you'll get the 2 games on Saturday, I believe. Am I correct on that? We'll have a doubleheader
Yeah,
Saturday.
that's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
actually, I gotta drop this in. I
yeah.
just saw an announcement on Twitter that tomorrow's game got changed to 5 p.m. and the Saturday game doubleheader is going to start at noon instead of 2. So I'm thinking that has something to do with the weather. So
Yeah, I did see that. Makes you wonder if maybe that second game Saturday just kind of gets punched if the weather kind of gets on strong. But
yeah, we'll
hey, it's
see.
Florida. We know it happens. Sometimes you wait it out. Sometimes you can't wait it out. But we'll see how it goes. We got a jam-packed show for you this evening, though. We got 4 games to look at ourselves. We'll also look at the AC, the American Conference Power Rankings, as I might have some explaining to do for some certain fan bases out there. But we'll do what we can. I don't think we're going to be able to satisfy them, but it is what it is. And then we're going to finish up the show looking at our weekend series with Columbia, as we just talked about, as well as the weekend slate for the rest of our conference mates. So without further ado, though, let's get right into it. We had a weekend series against Southern. If you recall, we actually, when we spoke to Coach Hannas, I believe he told us that there was a series that got added late, or I can't remember exactly how that information got to us, but there was a series added late. It was this Southern series. But anybody on the schedule, you got to play, you got to beat. We were able to do that. Started on Friday night with a 6-1 victory. Edwin Alisea got the victory. He is 3-0 on the year. Ethan Sutton got his second save. We'll start with you, Mark. Man, what stood out to you in this one?
I would say what stood out was Edwin Alisea really coming into his own and having his best start as a Bull. I thought that was awesome. I mean, he was somebody even back in the fall that was anticipated to really be a star on this pitching rotation. And in his first few weeks, we saw like glimpses of that, and he had like a lot of great moments, and you saw like the star potential. And for him to put it all together and have a great start the way he did, I mean, especially in the beginning, I think he like struck out his 6 first batters faced. He was on pace for like 20 strikeouts at one point, and he ends the night with 5 2/3 one earned run, 12 strikeouts, and only one walk. It was an excellent outing for the big lefty.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you as well. I thought it was finally his. The only thing that stopped him was the weather. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He would have pitched longer. That's true. There was a rain delay, and that took him out of the game.
Right. Matt, what stood out to you, bud?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of what Mark was saying with Edwin Alisea. I think early in the season, he struggled a little bit with his overall control. In his first start, he hit a couple of batters, but as the season has progressed, we've really seen him come into his own. He's always had that swing and miss stuff, but now that he's actually gained that control as well, we're seeing him go a little bit deeper into games, and overall, he looks very dominant out there.
Absolutely. I think he had 6 strikeouts through the first 2 innings. And I remember, I think I texted you guys, I think he's going to strike out 20 tonight. And like we just talked about, I think he would have had the weather not gotten in the way. But, Ethan Sutton got on the mound too, and he did a fantastic job coming in, getting 4 strikeouts in the 3 innings. That seems to be our Friday night formula is taking Alisea to Sutton. And kind of taking the game with those 2 arms, and it's been very, very successful thus far. Jevin Relaford also had a great game offensively, collected 2 hits and an RBI in this one. Um, we also had 2 runs out of Jake Kulikowski, had 2 walks to go along with that. So not a lot offensively. We only had 6 hits collectively, but it was enough on Friday night. Again, the weather, I guess, has everything a little shaky. You don't really know what's going to happen. Sometimes you think you're gonna get a delay, you don't get the delay, then you do get the delay, and you get a little cold. So sometimes that can kind of calm things down. But again, anytime you get a victory, it's good. We were able to pull it off on Friday night. And that's going to take us into Saturday, which started off with a huge bang 15-1 victory in the first game. Michael Sine got the start, got his second win of the season. He is 2-0 counted. That is 5-0 for our Friday and Saturday night starters combined to start the season. And then Jonah Sarabia, I believe I got that right, finished that one off after it got out of hand and ended early. Matt, I'm going to let you lead this one off, but what stood out to you on Saturday as the offensive onslaught began?
Honestly, it was Michael Sine continuing his amazing start to his collegiate career. Another great outing. He went 5 innings pitched, only 1 earned run. I'm sure if we were, in a tight ball game, he probably could have gone a lot more because he only pitched 69 total pitches. Overall, the thing I've been impressed with just this entire season has been our pitching staff, and I'm sure there's some room to talk about that a little bit more as we get deeper into the show. But um, an unbelievable day of pitching, and we got the run support behind that to get home early after you know, considering we had another game to play.
Absolutely. I mean, it's only the start to the season, but you already get to see Sine on the mound, and you're starting to maybe forget that he's a freshman. And that's really, really good to see so far. Mark, what stood out to you?
I would say, obviously scoring 15 runs and winning in 7 innings, but not just that, but the way that it happened and some of the players that were involved. On last week's show, I mentioned that given that our power numbers to start the year had been down a little bit, I was expecting to see Juan Correa get a little bit more involved, and and we did. Was that this game or was that the next game? Oh, that was the next
It's
game.
going to be the next game. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that
This
was the
was the
next game.
beginning of where we got to see a lot of
Yes,
different faces.
but
Yeah.
we did. You're right. We did see Matt Rose get involved, which, as I mentioned last week as well, he was a guy who led the league, led the team in batting average last year, and is a senior, a local kid, and he's always a joy to watch when he's out there. I mean, he plays hard, he plays the game the right way, and to see him go 3 for 4 that night, yeah, score 2 runs, he had a double, so that's great to see. We also got to see multi-hit games from Bracky Laurie and Jacob Green. Jacob Green had 4 RBIs, and all in all, it was a great week at the plate for many Bulls, but Jacob Green in particular, because on the week, I had his stats pulled up earlier for the week. Let me see if I could share that with you. Yeah, from this past week, Jacob Green, he batted 455 over the week. If you count the last 4 games, the full Southern Series and the Jacksonville game, with a 1208 OPS, 2 doubles. I mean, that's a guy who sat on the bench all last year, even though he was a really productive JUCO player. So he's somebody that shows that patience and staying with the program and believing that you can win a role if you stick to it. He's really paying off for him. And on top of that, I can't remember exactly which game it was, but he also had another highlight reel play where he jumped up and robbed a home run by the left field fence. So I really like a lot of things going on with Jacob Green, and I think the bat was the only thing that I wasn't sure was going to be at the same level as the defense. But when you have a full week where you hit 455, I mean, it's tough to argue with that. Granted, we will start facing tougher arms as conference play comes. So, I believe he can keep that up though, because he's got multiple ways to win offensively with his speed too.
Yeah, I was going to add in there as well. He managed to get a stolen base in there as well, so just showing off his full skill set in that.
Yeah, we had a couple stolen bases in this one actually. 4. Pruitt had 2. Bracky Laurie added 1 as well as Jacob Green. Um, yeah, you look at how much Matt Rose has gotten to play this season, and it's really just a testament to how much talent is really on this roster, particularly in the lineup. And that's the same thing with, you look at someone like Gabe Grollo, who got in at parts of this weekend, not yet. We'll talk about it later, but he's another player. You see him play and you're like, wow, why is he not getting just a little bit more opportunities? Well, it's because Jacob Green's robbing home runs, getting 4 hits, and Nate Early's hitting the ball out of the park. It's hard to get all of these guys in, uh, you know, uh, when everybody is eating essentially, and that's
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
happening right now. And it's
yeah.
good for fans. It's good for Bulls fans, because knock on wood, you never want to see injuries happen, right?
Right.
But they are a part of athletics, not just baseball. Any sport of any kind has got injuries involved with it. There's something everybody deals with. I feel like this team is much more prepared in terms of depth to maybe deal with some injuries than maybe we
Yeah.
were in the past, to maybe kind of deal with some hiccups and get to where we need to go long term.
Yeah. I would say, this is probably the deepest position player group I've ever seen USF Baseball have, at least in the 6 seasons I've been paying close attention. And you can make a fair argument that there's 11 or 12 guys that deserve to be in the lineup every day. But the
Right.
problem is that there's only 9 spots. And so that's Coach Hanna's is it's a good problem to have. It's his that's his puzzle to solve, but it's a good puzzle to solve because you'd rather have that than there's 9 spots and I only have 6 good players. So he's got a lot of options and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because the competition will get a little more challenging as we get into conference play. We've played some tough teams already. I mean, obviously UCF and Illinois, but we'll see how it develops. I think there might be an opportunity for certain players to separate themselves as the season goes on, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's true. That could absolutely happen as we go. Some guys are maybe going to hit some slumps, but again, a lot of depth on this team. It's going to be fun to watch as we go forward. We did have a doubleheader on Saturday, which kind of made Sunday a little awkward for some of us, right? Kind of what do we do with our hands?
Yeah.
Uh, but we did pull this one off as well. A 9-2 victory. Landon Yorick got the start. Caden Smith's going to get the win, which pulls him to 1-1 on the season. Dominic Pontbriand will actually does not get a save in this one, but he finished it off. Matt, what stood out to you in this one?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest piece of the puzzle was the middle innings where Hayden Smith came in and he completely dominated over 3.2 innings pitched. He didn't give up any earned runs and he struck out 8 batters as well. So shout out to him. That's a really great outing and really bridged the gap, to allow our offense to create some distance between Southern to really lock down that sweep.
Absolutely. Me and Mark talked about this in a separate kind of discussion about really a separate team, but having someone like Smith and Sutton, 2 guys in the back end of a bullpen that can come in, give you multiple innings and lock down games, really, really key for teams that want to have a lot of success in the postseason. Mark, what stood out to you, man?
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of hits the nail on the head. Having those guys on a weekend that can show up and give you 3 to 4 innings out of the bullpen is just such an advantage, especially when they themselves are like starter quality or like closer quality. I mean, that's just a huge advantage, and we're leveraging it obviously in this game, in the game with Ethan Sutton, and I just want to say it's very cool to see these 2 guys, Ethan Sutton and Caden Smith to do as well as they're doing. Because in the preseason, I heard a lot through D1 baseball, through going there in the fall, talking to the scouts there and stuff. It's like there was definitely like high expectations on both of them. Ethan Sutton coming from University of Georgia, Caden Smith coming from TCU. But as someone who's been a USF fan for a long time, you see in all kinds of sports, you see instances where you get players from Power Four schools or like an SEC school or Big 12, and it doesn't always pan out when they come to USF. It's not automatic guaranteed success just because you came from a Power Four that you come to a G5 program, and especially when neither of them had really significant playing time at their prior stops. Ethan Sutton because of injury. Caden Smith was only a freshman on a pretty deep TCU team. So even though I knew they had high pedigree and had a ton of talent, I didn't know for sure that they were going to come here and be this effective at this big of a role this quickly. So to see that they're doing that is a huge credit to them. and also a huge credit to Coach Schlereth for like really getting the most out of these guys.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to point out that this was Juan Correa's big game day, so I'm going to give it back to you here. Let me tell let you tell the people what you thought of Correa's game here.
Yeah, no, I thought that was awesome. I mean, I've been calling for that for a while that I would like to see him get more involved. He's got the most career Division One home runs of anybody on this roster. He's got great size, really big kid. I think he's at least like 6'3", 6'4", maybe taller. But I mean, he went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. He had a light tower shot to left field. Matthew was there to see it in person, so he could talk about it a little more. But he adds something to this lineup that I think is going to be very valuable going forward. And you want to talk about his week, he really only had a handful of at bats throughout the week, but he went 4 for 5 in the at bats he did have with that home run and with 3 runs scored and 4 RBIs. So he was making the most out of his opportunity for sure.
Yeah, he definitely he has a thunder stick anytime he comes up to bat, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We also saw Brock Silvers make a start in this one. That was his first start as a Bull. We did see Gabe Grollo also make a start in a Bull, and that was right and left. That's probably some outfield mates for the future that we see. Maybe Grollo playing in center, Brock probably moving over to right or left. Well, Jackson Mirza got in for Brock, so maybe that's the third piece of that puzzle. All three of those guys are freshmen. They're all getting a lot of playing time early. That could be our outfield of the future that we saw. We saw Jackson Geiger get in. That could be a catcher of the future. Just a lot of new faces in this one. We saw Matt Rose get another start in this one. So I really think Coach took this opportunity to get a lot of people some extra at bats, get extra faces in there, and I think going forward that's going to be pretty beneficial for us. And so we did not have to wait very long till we got our another game. Kind of jumped up on us on a Monday. Monday games catch everybody off guard,
Yeah,
especially when it's not a part of a special type of series. You know, it's just
right.
the regular next midweek that comes on. But South Florida actually I have this. We went to Jacksonville. For some reason, I thought that was a home game, but went to Jacksonville. We won 11-6. Nolan Bernard got the start. Jorge De Cardenas came in. Ethan Sutton comes back in, gives us another 3 innings, and then Landon O'Donnell capped it off. Mark, what stood out for you as you watched this game?
Yeah, I thought it was good that Nolan Bernard got the opportunity to start. I think that's something that he's going to be able to do for us later throughout this season and into the future. Seeing him have a lot of success as a freshman last year is kind of what I envisioned for him. He did struggle a little bit in this outing, but luckily when you have a really deep pitching staff, you can afford to have an off night and the rest of the guys can pick you up. And that happened with Jorge De Cardenas, who it's incredible to see a guy who is a fifth-year senior, um, very talented, and to be able to use him in a midweek setting, um, to go 3 1/3, 2 strikeouts, the walk, no earned runs. Um, Jorge Cardenas, the ceiling for him as a pitcher is very high, and I said this before. When he's on, he's just as good or better than anybody. The key with him is consistency, and he's actually given that to us thus far this season. In his 8 1/3 innings pitched so far, he has a 2.16 ERA and a .96 WHIP. So I'm really happy for him that he's being consistent. And I think if he keeps that up, it's going to be really good for him and for the Bulls. We got to see Ethan Sutton again play his 3 inning swingman role, which was fantastic. He looked really good. Like I really liked what he was doing with his changeup. And also, there was this one inning where he really just threw fastballs and changeups, and then it wasn't until literally the last pitch of the inning he just busts out this sweeper that was just disgusting. I texted Adam, I was like, or at the group, I was like, wow, I was like, Ethan Sutton looks really good right now. And then Landon O'Donnell closed it out. So good pitching work from the guys.
I wanted to add in there as well. I think something that shouldn't be overlooked is the fact that last year we went 16 and 11 in conference, and Jorge De Cardenas was a big part of that. He pitched a lot of Saturday games. You know, he was a big part of our weekend rotation, and now we've gotten to the point where, we got Jorge DeCardenas pitching, the middle innings of midweek games. I think it kind of just speaks volumes to the overall talent and depth that we have, in terms of our pitching staff this year. And it's honestly, it gets me really fired up just thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sorry to jump in here, but I think the Cardinals kind of is one of those candidates for this season, that somebody that maybe flies under the radar as we're going, because he's kind of tucked away in those midweek middle innings. And then when we get to tournament time and things get a little deep and somebody's got to kind of make a standout performance, he's going to be the guy that jumps in, throws 5, 6, 7 innings where we're not expecting it. And it's like, wow, that's why we're in the championship game right now.
Yeah, you just saved our season. Yeah, that could definitely be him. He's definitely got that in him for sure. And yeah, I mean, offensively in this game too, I mean, there was a few multi-hit games on offense. Matt Rose continued his hot hitting, 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs, drew
At
two
the big fly.
walks. Yeah, he has home run. And Lance Triple and Jevon Relaford each had 2 base hits. So it's it was a really good team effort. I mean, to win that game 11-6 on the road against an in-state team. These are the kind of games that you're going to look back on in May and realize that if you're in a good position for the at-large bid, taking care of these midweeks is going to be a big part of the reason why. And when guys like the Cardinals and Sutton can do what they do in the midweeks, in addition to some weekend contributions as well. I mean, it's huge. And one last note I have is I couldn't believe today when I checked that Landon O'Donnell only has 3 1/3 innings on the season, because I feel like I've
A lot of
seen
his
him.
outings are like 1 out.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him like 6 times.
Yeah.
Um, well, I guess I'm right. He has pitched 6 times,
Yeah.
but he he's great though. He's doing
He's
really
got a
well.
roll.
He's got a role. And I'll tell you what, as we play tighter conference games down the road, they're going to be having to use him a little more possibly to get some saves. So he's got to keep doing what he's doing.
And I thought it was good he got an inning on Monday,
Hmm.
because he
Yeah,
didn't get an opportunity to get anything. Southern didn't. I mean, at no point I don't think any Bulls fan was ever worried about us losing a game, against Southern, and so there was really no point in putting him out there. And then you get all the way to there's really no point putting him out there Monday either. But is that you're just like, well, we're not going to play again until Friday. We got to get him
no,
out there, let
yeah,
him
that
get
was
an inning
that
in.
was
So
good to get him some work.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
interestingly enough, sixth appearance of the season, and one full inning was his longest outing. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was good.
Matt, do you have any final thoughts on this game before we kind of just give some overall thoughts on the team going forward?
Just real quick, I think with these midweek games, it's always interesting how, we always start out very tight with these games, and then as the game progresses, we do manage to pull away and get enough offense to secure the win. And it was no different in this game either.
Yeah, man, midweek madness. They're a roller coaster. You just gotta ride it sometimes. But
Absolutely.
what was your thoughts, guys, on these last 4 games? It really did feel like it was an opportunity for Coach Hannes to get a lot of new faces in. I called it the series of opportunity, right? We're getting the guys some at bats that they hadn't gotten. What stood out to you for that? We'll start with Mark.
Yeah, I think it was good to get 3 consecutive games really where the outcome of the game, maybe Friday a little bit, but outcome of the game never really was in question. So that allowed Coach Hannes to coach more freely, more from a stance of let me see this guy do, let me see what this guy can do, let me see what that guy can do. Whereas if you're in a game that's tight and the outcome is in question, you might stick with what you know. You're not going to experiment. And it was nice to see him get the opportunity to experiment, give a few guys some opportunities, and we saw something. It was really one of those things where it was like, hey, if you want to carve out a bigger role, you really got to show us something, because these kind of opportunities, these kind of weekends may not come too often once conference play starts. And I'll say when Juan Correa hits the ball into the soccer stadium, I mean that's a good way of showing something.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. What has stood out to you as far as when you're watching these last 4 games?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult to make judgments based off of, games where you're expected to win those games. And like you said, it was a great opportunity to see some guys that maybe normally wouldn't have. But for me, I think the biggest thing was just seeing the continuation of our solid pitching that we've seen all year long. And, the combination of our ability to hit the ball, pitch the ball, we got basically all key functions of our team going on all cylinders. And something I want to point out too is just the overall pitching staff this season. We have a team ERA of 3.14, which if we sustain that for the whole season, we're going to be looking pretty good when it comes to the conference tournament and Selection Sunday.
Yeah, I think when you look at our power numbers, you look at say maybe there's something to be more desired in there, but we're pitching like lights out, and we're still scoring runs. I think as someone tracking kind of the season stats and how things are going along, you wouldn't think you wouldn't think our power numbers, you would think our runs per game would be lower considering what our power numbers are, but we're still finding ways to get runs in. We got guys that can run, so they're taking extra bases or getting into scoring position, scoring on wild pitches, scoring on balls in the dirt, stuff like that. Um, and so, but on that note, you would like to see more power come out. And I think one way that could happen is, and you guys know there's no bigger Eli Thomas or Jack Lutz fans, that aren't related to him than this guy right here. But I do believe that Juan Correa and Matt Rose in a platoon role with those two guys. Correa can also work in at first base and give some, and bump early to the outfield. But those guys have got to get more at bats, especially against left-handed pitching, which I haven't really paid too much attention to how many left-handed starters that we've actually faced, but I know we faced a few this week, and that's where you saw Rose and Correa get more starts. I think that's something that kind of needs to happen going forward. We get a righty, we play the two lefties. We get a lefty, we play the two righties, and kind of let it go from there. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to add in there as well. Something that I've seen as a trend throughout the season when it comes to our approach at the plate is we've been extremely patient as well. As a team, we've walked a combined 92 times while only striking out 86. Now, that could be a function of maybe playing a few lower ranked teams, than we will face later on in the season. But if that's a trend that continues, I think that really speaks highly of what we'll do continuing the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think something else that's really helping us, and Mark, I'll let you go real quick. I look at the fact that we've got a starting rotation, right? I believe we've got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy. We know who it's going to be. Friday, Saturday for sure. I definitely believe Yorick has taken that Sunday role as well. I mean, you think of last year, how many TBAs and TBDs we had to see going into a weekend and not really knowing what's going to happen. Just a lot more consistency across the board. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matthew mentioned something actually that I wanted to add to is the approach at the plate and the walks and such. A stat that's really mind-blowing in a good way for this team right now is that we have walked as a team more than we've struck out. I never even thought that was possible to do as a team. So credit to our hitting approach, our hitting coach, to the guys for buying into the vision of the way that this team wants to approach at bats and because if you do that, that's just such an edge, especially when you have speed. Once you're on base paths, the way that our team does, um, it's really impressive to see. And I think at the end of the day, what matters in baseball, as we all know, this is not anything crazy, but what matters is how many runs you score. It doesn't necessarily matter how you do it. So is our isolated slugging percentage a little lower than other teams in the conference? Sure. But I think in terms of runs scored per game, we rank third in the conference, 8.5 runs per game scored. So um, we're just doing it in our own way that actually works pretty well with the personnel we have. We have a lot of good athletes. We have guys that once they're on the base paths, they can create havoc. So the fact that there's also a hitting approach behind that that values contact and values drawing walks is you can see how it's all kind of working together.
Yeah, I just think we got a lot of guys that when they get two strikes, they're just willing to put it on the ground and try to run it out and see what happens. And what you will find is, pressure makes diamonds, but it also doesn't sometimes, right? You apply pressure to a defense, they make mistakes. You don't apply pressure, you hit that chopper and you don't really run as hard as you can, even if you're not fast. I think that's what some people don't understand. You try to get your players in high school to understand, even if you're not fast, just running as hard as you can puts pressure on the defense, because they can't, it's not routine for them anymore. They've got to play it, they've got to go get it, because you're going hard, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if they take it easy, you're going to get there. And I mean, I guess there are some limits
It,
to it,
it's
but
one thing to go hard, but to go hard when you're actually fast,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
great.
I
If
mean,
I
there's
went hard on
limits
the
to
base
it,
pass,
but
I'm not sure it would really matter that
you
much. But
you try to tell even the slow guys, look, you got to go, right? Because you apply that pressure, and they don't even see really how fast you're running. They just know the guy's going, right? And so, but they definitely know when you chop it into the dirt and you just kind of jog out of the box, they can kind of take it easy. But we don't have that. We got a lot of guys that are just willing to put it on the ground and try to beat it out, and that's against the mold of today's game, because what you really see is a lot of guys with two strikes still trying to hit it out of the park. And you have the high strikeout percentages. I do think we have the lowest strikeout percentage in the conference as well, which is one of the things working for us. Any final thoughts kind of on the team going forward, futuristics, things you might be looking for?
no, I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, pretty good. All right. Well, we will move on to the AA, the American Conference Power Rankings. Um, those were submitted or sent out on X earlier this morning. Already gaining some comments, and we'll get into addressing some of those as best we can here in a minute. But before we do, I do want to kind of go over it in case somebody hasn't seen them. And of course, I'm looking at the wrong thing. All right. Well, started off with number one, once again, second week in a row, Charlotte. South Florida moves up to number 2, which dropped UTSA to number 3. And I do want to point out before I go forward that when you look at the numerical values that are placed to this, those 3 teams are head and shoulders above the rest of the conference. You would call them tier 1 right now. And then you would have East Carolina at 4 and FAU at 5. I think that would be your next tier, followed by UAB at 6, Wichita State at 7. And then that would be another tier on those 2. And then you would have your last tier, which would be Rice, Tulane, and Memphis coming in at 10. And again, I know there's some stuff that's kind of weird, especially when you look at some of these teams historically, what they've been and what they are in these rankings. But what do you guys think? What are some of the comments? Again, I haven't seen a lot of them, seen some of them. But what do you think? What needs some explaining?
Um,
Honestly, the
but
first thing that stood out to me, I keep a close eye on the RPI, and I know you shouldn't, especially this early in the season still. But one thing that really surprised me was looking at UAB, and they don't have like a great record. They're 10-7, but their overall RPI is number 11, which actually is the highest in our conference as of right now. Um, so I know your algorithm takes into account a lot of different things, but for me that was something interesting, and to see them, I think they're in the bottom quarter of your power rankings, so that was a little interesting for me.
Yeah, and they started a little higher. I think they started the year up around 4 or 3, and now they're in that 5, 6, 7 range. Or I'm sorry, I think they're about 6 right now. They are RPI merchants right now. they
yeah,
got the series with Florida, which boosted them. They also got a series with Cincinnati, and if you're not paying attention to Cincinnati, they are tearing the cover off the ball. They got a guy last week that hit 7 home runs in 5 games. Big 12 player of the year, or I'm sorry, player of the week. But they got 2 wins against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's got a really good resume right now, and that is what's really boosting UAB. I do want to point out with my rankings, it does take into account the RPI/ELO that Warren Nolan has, again, and that'll kind of, as RPI becomes more consistent, which will actually happen in the next week or
pretty
so.
soon. Yeah,
Then we'll kind of be fully more reliant as far as that metric's concerned
right.
with RPI. But what really matters the most in my model, and will always kind of matter the most in the model, is how you are playing as a team across offense, defense,
Yep.
and pitching. And right now, UAB really isn't. They're playing about middle of the pack. I think they're playing a little below middle of the pack when you really break it down. But again, they're getting a lot of benefit because their strength of schedule is really really low based on who they've played. And they're not they're not being terrible right now. I know you gotta compare it to maybe a team like Tulane who's sitting at 9. Their strength of schedule is in like the low 200s, like 250s, right? And they're
Mhm.
and they're they're 9-8 against that, and they're playing actually better than their ranking, but it's just like they're so far below kind of the rest of the conference in terms of that strength of schedule, that it's just really hard with that record to kind of put them higher.
Something
Yeah.
that was interesting that I saw today is, if the season were to end today, the American Conference would actually be the fourth best conference out there. And, it
Just to be
obviously a
clear,
lot.
that's better than the Sun Belt, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ahead of the
Okay.
Sun
Cool.
Belt.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to put that out there.
Yes.
I
Which means
think
we
they even
deserve multi bids this year.
I
We
think
keep
they
it
even
up.
put us ahead of another one of the Power Fours
Big Ten.
conferences too.
Yeah, Big Ten.
Big Ten.
But yeah, if you look at like the RPIs for UAB, we're also looking at UTSA, they're number 13. Charlotte's number 24, we're number 41. So, right now we at least have four teams that are in the top 41 when it comes to the RPI.
Yeah, I feel like in the national media, the conference is getting a lot more respect overall. But
Definitely.
Mark, anything stood out to you?
Yeah, I think a team to kind of actually keep an eye on who's creeping up a little bit is FAU, jumping up to number 5. They seem pretty solid, actually. I mean, out of all the results from the prior weekend, I would say maybe their weekend result is maybe one of the most impressive. They had a sweep over FIU, and it's not to say that FIU is fantastic by any means, but they're still a Conference USA team from Florida. That's like their rival in geographically down there. So usually when those two teams meet in a series, it's like back and forth, 1-2, 2-1. But to see FAU clean sweep them, I think that's pretty impressive. And pretty much the prior weekend, every team won their series except for ECU, who understandably lost their series 1-2 to Coastal Carolina, who's a top team, and Tulane. They did actually better than I expected that they would do against TCU. They won a game. There was one of the games where they didn't look too good, but then the other one it was basically toss up. So they could have won that series. So Tulane might be a little bit better than we're giving them credit for thus far, but like you said, they're not really jumping out in any particular facet of the game. So I guess it's to be determined.
Yeah, they really. I mean, their team batting average is 252 right now,
Yeah.
which is that's ninth. No, that's last.
I have them OPS in the league. They are eighth at
Mhm.
773.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
yeah, they
batting, they're just really not hitting the ball very well. And when you look at FAU, they're actually hitting the ball pretty decent at 301. OPS is 812, but they're not scoring runs, right? Their runs
right.
scored are at 6.35, which is, below you, we got 2 7s, there's an 8, 9 that kind of puts them in the low end of scoring runs. So I think if they can get their offense to where it's actually producing those runs across, their strikeout number is a little high, 22% right now. They could definitely jump up there as well. Um, and I mean, just to go ahead and do it, the reasoning I've got for UTSA and their kind of fall from, I think I'm the only metric that I've seen that doesn't have UTSA as the number one American Conference team, and I get it. I think one thing is what I'm looking at is strictly what's happened kind of this season. I'm not really giving any sort of credit to anything else, coming into it. Whereas for example, the D1, top 25, they'll straight out tell you that there's a lot of their biases in that, and their biases includes all of their historical, So they're when they say they believe UTSA is, they're remembering the fact that they're a super regional team from last season and that Pat Hallmark is a fantastic coach, right? That all comes into play into that. In my model, it doesn't. Um, and so it really just kind of takes into what's happening this season. And what's happening this season is that UTSA is a fantastic offensive team. They have a good starter in Connor Kelly. I think his ERA is a little down right now, but I think he's a pretty decent starter. I think they've got another starter that's pretty good as well. His ERA is reflecting that. And I think they may have one or two guys out of the bullpen that can give them an inning, maybe. They don't have the Robert Orlowski. They don't have the Connor Kelly of last season that was coming out of the bullpen. They don't have that run prevention in the back end of games that they had last season, and I think because of that, that's why you've seen them kind of fall below East Carolina and I'm sorry, Charlotte and South Florida. But again, those three teams, I believe, are the top tier. I think ECU is going to get into that because they've got a really, really good weekend rotation. They could have the best weekend rotation in the conference when it's all said and done. Um, I know. I mean, what they've got coming with Norby and Van Campen on Friday and Saturday can really go with anybody. Their offense is down right now, but we know there's a lot of offensive talent on that roster. We've seen it break out late season last season. Maybe it breaks out late season this year. It's just right now that they're kind of reflected as fifth.
Yeah, it's a fair spot for them at the moment.
Well, looking forward at the schedule, do
I could
we want to
share
look at
the
Columbia first, or do we want to look at the
uh
conference?
I'll share the screen here real quick. Won't
Okay.
share for the whole thing, but just so everybody could see the matchups that are coming up here.
Yeah, I felt like this weekend was like, what is it, like week 10 or 11 of the SEC schedule, football schedule,
Yeah. I was looking
right
at this
before
and
rivalry week.
I know I'm like, wait a second. There's not too many marquee matchups here.
There's really
Um,
not.
no, I mean let's just take a glance real quick. I mean the one thing that is interesting to me,
I think I know where you're
Rice
going. Oh,
Rice is
okay.
playing a team with a winning record, St.
Grand
Mary's
Canyon,
College.
that's actually Grand Canyon could be a tournament team. I think they were
Yeah.
close to or may have been a tournament team last year. But yeah, you're right. That could be an interesting matchup for Rice.
Oh, so wait a second. So Rice is doing some kind of like tournament thing because they're playing
Oh,
against St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. Okay. All right.
okay.
That makes it a little more interesting. So Rice has an interesting weekend. They have the most interesting weekend probably. Um,
Well, actually, I'll throw this out there. So you got Creighton and Tulane. So that's like a Billy Mole series
it is.
going on down
I wonder
there.
how that
And,
matchup got set up. So
but
that's a cool one. Um, but we could talk a little bit about ours. So I'll just kind of lead that real quick. So we're hosting Columbia. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier, 4 games. They're from the Ivy League, as well, everybody pretty much knows. But last year they won the Ivy League. They made it to the NCAA tournament. They finished, I want to say, top 65 in the RPI in the country. So them as a team is actually a pretty accomplished team as of recently. They've probably played maybe some of the least games of anybody in college baseball this year. Could just be being a northern school, Ivy League. Maybe they don't like to travel as much far for midweeks. Whatever the case is, they haven't even played midweeks. They've only played weekends thus far. They're 2-7, but they have a really good strength of schedule. They've played, I think, Kansas State, West Virginia, and Mercer, who have all had a really good season so far. They have not played anybody easy, and playing us won't be it either. So that 2-7 record is not to be looked too far into. One characteristic of their team, I look back at their stats for the last few years, and it seems like no matter what, they're always a very good hitting team, and they're a little bit lackluster historically on the mound, and they just tend to out hit people. Has been their recipe for success, and they've had the same coach there for over 20 years, it looks like. So he, is not things don't really change too much. He kind of keeps that system in place that's been working for them. But Matt, what you got?
was gonna say it's also where Lou Gehrig ended up playing college baseball too, so there's some history there too.
Yeah, listen, uh, right now, you absolutely want Columbia on your schedule because they have a low RPI and they lose games. Like
Yeah.
I don't know where you're gonna get that
Yeah,
combination
that's the dream.
anywhere, right? Like they're coming in with a great RPI and they're gonna give you some dubs, you know. However, if they're gonna catch you, they're gonna catch you on Friday night. All right. Their two wins both come on Friday night.
Mm,
Um, you'd like to say it's because of the pitcher, but it's not. They're still, I think it's like 9-8 and like 14-7. Like so it's not
yeah.
it's not because of the Friday night guy, but apparently they come in ready to swing it. So Alisea is going to have to come in and have his stuff ready, which I think he will. I think he have a big weekend, you know. And speaking of, when I look at this rotation of Alisea and Sane and Yorick, it really reminds me of 2018 when we had Shane McClanahan, who obviously had much more fanfare and everything around him at the time than anything we've got now. But in terms of consistently and feeling confident what you got on the mound, I really go back to that year, which is interesting because that is the last time we played Columbia. What was 2018. So yeah, I think it could be. I think that was. I think Shane one hit Columbia. I mean, in 6 innings, he never really went past that. But um, yeah, so interesting for that. I don't know what to make of them because, like I said, they're RPI merchants. Like I don't like you look at it and they're like RPI
Yeah.
29, they're 2-7.
So what I would say about them is it looks like their pitching stats are pretty much in line with their norms. They usually don't have great ERAs over there. However, their hitting stats this year are way below their norms. So they could start hitting, hopefully not this weekend. But another interesting thing is they started off last year terrible as well. They
Hmm.
started off last year like 2-10 or 12, something bad. And then they went on a crazy run and won the Ivy League. And here's the most impressive thing that they did was not only did they get into the NCAA tournament, Hattiesburg Regional down there in Southern Miss, but they went in there and won the first game of the regional in
If I'm not
Hattiesburg,
mistaken, I
beat
think they may
Southern
have
Miss.
even won 2 games.
No, I looked it up. They won that game, which was pretty impressive but what I will say is sometimes these regional hosts, they think, oh, we're playing the 4 seed in game one. We could hold back our ace. That strategy backfired on them big time. And so granted, Columbia did ultimately get eliminated. I want to say Southern Miss did win that regional, but still very impressive. Still very impressive.
And
Yeah,
Adam, they're actually number 19 overall in RPI right now, so they
Yes, it's
it's a great
incredible.
at two
opportunity
and
this
seven.
weekend.
Yeah. Can't
Maybe
take
they
the
just
RPI
don't
too
like
seriously though.
Florida, right? They don't like Florida. They come down here, they lose, and they go back up north and they beat everybody up. I don't know. Look,
Yeah.
the Ivy League could be, pretty competitive this year. I mean, Yale's got a guy. Yale's got a guy that everybody wanted.
Oh, they still have that guy? Jeez.
Yeah, there's an article out there that will tell it's kind of all these crazy things that all these SEC schools tried to do to get him, and
Wow.
he said no. He's like, I'm staying here.
Wow.
Um, yeah, like cars and stuff. Like
Interesting.
apparently LSU had some crazy offer. It
Oh,
didn't
I'm
go
sure
into
they did.
detail about what it was, but yeah, it was. And that's who I predicted would go after him. They certainly tried, but
Goodness.
yeah, he said no. I can't remember his name, but he's doing well. You don't want to yell on
Hmm.
Friday. You might
No.
want him on Saturday, Sunday, but
Yeah.
Friday is a tough out for sure. How about mid majors beating the big dogs this year? Doesn't it feel like it's happening maybe at a little bit more frequent uh midweeks
Yeah.
and series? I mean, Kent State, Florida gets swept by High Point. Kent State beats Tennessee. Elon shuts out NC State. That's just what I can remember off the top of my head in the
I
last
mean,
Yeah.
it
little
seems
bit,
like LSU's dropped like at least 3 or 4
LSU's
games during
spiraling.
majors.
Sacramento State beat them in a series, which was
Spiraling.
hilarious. Yeah, actually,
Absolutely.
it actually made me want to look at the mid-major rankings. Yeah, so they have 11.7. They put out the mid-major power rankings. They have Southern Miss number one. They have UC Santa Barbara number two, UTSA at number three, Coastal Carolina at number four, and the team we're pretty familiar with, the USF Bulls, at number five. So that's a nice high praise from national media right there. Granted, you got to keep earning it each week, but it's good to see that the Bulls are getting that kind of recognition early. But to your point, Adam, I mean, there's multiple teams on this list that I've seen that have beaten Power Three, Power Fours programs, however you want to call it. But it seems to be a High Point could have had a sweep of the Gators pretty
They
easily.
did,
No,
didn't
they
they?
they lost. They
No,
lost that
they
last game.
no. Okay, so they blew it in the ninth.
Yeah, they blew it in
Blew
the
it in the
ninth.
ninth.
Yeah, they could have had a sweep though. Yeah,
You're right. I
yeah,
think it was like
That
5 walks in the top or the bottom of the ninth or whatever it was. That gave them the game back.
yeah.
Tell you what, that school impresses me. They just won their basketball conference tournament too, and they're going dancing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I listened to 11.7 talk about him a little bit, and Ben talked about their head coach, and he had like I guess had a sit down conversation about like their system, and he thought it was completely outside the
innovative. I
box.
heard that
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
innovative. Like he was enamored by it. He didn't say anything. He's like, I don't know what I'm
yeah.
allowed to
He's
say. He
like,
was
yeah, I
gonna
don't know
go.
what he wants.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go talk, and I can. So I'm actually I want him to come back and kind of
Yeah,
indulge me a little bit. But yeah,
yeah,
well, apparently what they're doing, and High Point is one of those. If you're really paying attention to college baseball, you've heard of High Point. They're making regionals every. They might have made it. I think they made it last year.
yeah. It's an interesting school too. Very small private school there in North Carolina. But for the size of their school, they seem to put a lot into athletics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. All righty. Well, has anybody got anything else they want to talk about before we send them on their way?
No, I think I'm talking to the USF Athletics Department about making sure we can get some players on here soon. So stay tuned for that. We plan on getting some player interviews in the very near future. Eventually, we'll get some coaches again as well. But I think the next opportunity for a guest, we'll use that for a player or players. We already have one in mind, so stay tuned.
Awesome. Awesome. Make sure you get out to the Red this weekend. 4 games, lots of opportunities to watch the Bulls. Matt, is the ticket contest still going? I saw that posted. Have those been claimed?
Yes, they have been claimed, but always keep on a lookout for any ticket giveaways. If you're following myself, Mark, and Adam and John, you're eligible to win those tickets.
Absolutely. Listen, and we're giving away the best seat in the house, right? We're not putting you in the nosebleeds. We're putting you right there, front and center. Like I said, best seat in the house. Make sure you're following Matt to keep up with that. But like I said, lots of opportunities to see the Bulls. Four chances. I think we're home. We're home after that too, with the next midweek. I think
Yeah.
Jacksonville will come back to us. Make sure you subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, however you're following or listening to us, so you make sure
Drop a
that you can
like
catch it.
on the YouTube video.
Drop a like and a comment too. We'd like to hear from you. Let
We
us
would like
know.
to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know what you like, what you don't like. You can do the don't like in the private section. It'll be
Yeah.
but, until next time, fools. Go Bulls.
All right.